YNW Melly alongside his lawyers are making a serious impact on this trial, as 1 week ago we heard the attempt of a mistrial being denied by the judge. However, today on June 24th, the mistrial could be back. Now here's what you need to know. For the ending of the last week in the YNW Melly trial, serious updates have been revealed sharing how the trial is truly going, as the famous rap lawyer would go on to share this.
Big drama at the YNW Melly trial today, and I told people this was going to happen. They didn't want to listen to me. The judge very upset that the courtroom camera and microphones are picking up whispers of the defendant's lawyers to each other, to the defendant. I also have raised issues. There's a photographer in there snapping away millions of photos of YNW Melly's face all day. There's a cameraman who zooms in on YNW Melly while he's having exchanges with his lawyers. Courtroom is a privilege. With our human eyes and our human ears, and our human time, we can see certain things. But when you record with high sensitivity mics and zoom and you focus in on the defense team, that's not a privilege that you have. I can bet the defense is going to use this to probably ask for another mistrial or add this to the long list of problems that they have with this trial and then ask for a mistrial.
The mistrial talk started rising again as on day 7 of the trial, a report was shared and I quote, "Judge allows undercover detectives to testify while wearing a shiesty mask in the YNW Melly trial." This undercover cop revealed that YNW Melly is a part of a street team and even brought up the Island Boys.
And they would quickly get checked. That happened to those two kids. I don't know how old they are. Those two guys that were claiming money, the Island Boys, with the fun haircut. Okay. Yeah, they were claiming to be members of, which is a set of, and they quickly got checked by almost every that could find them on social media. They got framed, and they then had to recant and apologize.
Did you find any evidence whatsoever of any recanting or apologizing by Mr. Devins in the records that you reviewed?
There's no recanting, there's no apologizing, there's no one calling out Mr. Devins for being a fake.
While he did bring up some good valid points, the masked man would end up making members of the jury feel very uncomfortable. This would end up affecting the end result in the trial, as mentioned by the rap lawyer himself, as the judge also announced that he will now be excluding evidence due to the prosecution violating the discovery rules, as explained by Mo once again.
YNW Melly trial, more missteps from the prosecution, this time the judge issuing a sanction. The sanction is the prosecution is not going to be allowed to use certain evidence. The reason? The prosecution failed to turn the evidence over in a timely manner. The defense had accused them of trying to plug up holes. You're going to see the footage from the judge where the judge says, like, this is not the right way to do it. Ultimately, I don't know if this is a huge part of their case, this evidence that's being excluded, but it speaks to the issue that the defense attorney was talking about, is this is a case. If you've got your evidence, go ahead and present it. The way the evidence is coming out, there's just too many missteps, too many technical mishaps.
As he just explains everything perfectly, this would end up surprising the entire courtroom. The prosecution are now running out of evidence to use. This is now going to make the trial last even longer than most expected. Even the jurors would go on to ask the judge, how long is this going to take? To which his response explained once again by the rap lawyer.
So the answer to this question is going to you, because initially I thought the answer to this question was trial will last maybe 2 to 3 weeks, so sometime at the end of next week it's over, we get a verdict next week or maybe the week after. In fact, the judge said in open court this morning, a juror had asked the judge, hey, how long is this trial going to take? Can you give us some forecast so we can plan? And the judge said this, spoke to lawyers on both sides. They expect trial will conclude at some point by the end of July, meaning trial is likely to last all of this month, June. They're going to take a day or two off for July 4th. Then trial is going to last through all of July. You're talking about multiple weeks, multiple months. It has to be said.
So with things now looking very positive in the Melly trial, it wouldn't be until an FBI agent then took the stand. This FBI agent specializes in cell phone data research. As the report would go on to state, YNW Melly's lawyer questions FBI agent that did an analysis on YNW Melly's phone at the time of the crime.
Based on the information, you can't really tell the court precisely which locations these phones are falling in, can you?
One of the limitations of cellular analysis is that you can only say a general area where the device would be at a given time.
All right. So even with the general analysis, all of the stuff that we've gone through for about 4 or 5 hours, at the end of the day, you can never give an exact location.
True.
And could you tell if somebody was walking around a car with the phone? Would you be able to tell that?
No.
So it'd be your testimony that this phone, 9807, could be from here to here, correct?
Yes.
And what was the distance?
While he did share very important information, it wouldn't be until the next topic of conversation where things would get very interesting. A DNA specialist then took the stand. His job was to go over DNA research on items that were found at the crime scene, including items that were found inside of the Jeep that the crime happened in. As the report would go on to state, DNA analyst confirms YNW Melly's DNA was not found on multiple items that were recovered at the crime scene.
So going to item number 22, the swab from the Gucci sandals. We're able to compare the profile from Mr. Devins as opposed to the profile developed from those sandals.
I did, and he was excluded.
The stain on the front of the t-shirt, item number 23. We're able to compare Mr. Devins' profile to that.
I did a comparison, and he was again excluded.
What about item number 24, the cutting of the stain of the rear of the t-shirt?
After comparisons were done, he was excluded.
Okay, then on item number 25, the swab of stain from the Air Jordans.
Again, an exclusion.
Going on to item number 26, the swab from the yellow jacket.
An exclusion as well.
And in terms of the item number 27 and 28, the swabs at the Gatorade bottles. What were the results on that?
Those were both exclusions.
However, YNW Melly's DNA was found on the vehicle's handle on the door. This is obvious as we ended up watching YNW Melly getting into the car on that side on footage.
Excuse me, you're able to see? Yes? All right.
So now that it's known to the jury, Melly's DNA was not found inside of the vehicle and only found on the car door handle, all Melly's lawyers truly need to do is just prove that Fredo Bang picked up YNW Melly before the crime happened. Now, prosecutors already told the jury that YNW Melly was picked up by famous rapper Fredo Bang after the crime was committed. Melly's lawyers just need to prove that it was before.
And Chris Thomas are. So what you're also going to find out is while Mr. Devins is out there on the side of the road, 4 in the morning, 4:42 specifically, he sends a drop pin, digital homing beacon, to his current location, to one of his friends, Frederick Givens. Frederick Givens is also involved in the music industry, and he asked to be picked up. Frederick Givens, then about 11 minutes later, is sent another drop pin where Mr. Devins has moved a couple of meters. What you're going to find out as well, though, is these digital leashes, they have more than just phone calls.
However, his DNA not showing up on items at the crime scene is still, in the end, an unbelievable win. YNW Melly and his lawyers even knew this, because how they reacted during the first recess after that information was shared to the courtroom is unbelievable and something everyone needs to see.
Thank you, Lord, what the jury step down. Counsel remain. All with the defendant. Yes, counsel, I'm sorry. I just figured it was easier if we just let the jury go.
Understood.
Makes sense. Your Honor, may we have this discussion just in case there needs to be some supplementation testimony outside the presence of the
Sure.
Minutes after YNW Melly's reaction was obviously visible to those inside of the courtroom, Bryson Paul, a reporter from inside, would go on to state on Twitter, YNW Melly appears to be becoming more and more confident about his case, the more and more the defense stops the prosecution, speaking with gallery a whole lot more. And he now knows the courtroom and appears to know how to maneuver. However, it wouldn't be until the next topic of conversation where Melly and his lawyers begin saying, why am I still here? Why am I not released? As to understand this fully, you gotta go back to the first day of the YNW Melly trial, where it was obvious his lawyers were trying to present to the jury the possibility of this crime being done by YNW Bortland. As it was reported, YNW Bortland had powder residue on his hands and a change of clothing when he dropped off Sack Chaser and Juvie to the hospital. YNW Bortland and Melly were the only two men in the vehicle with them, including this video of Melly's own lawyer speaking on it.
Demon's lies, those were his lies. Cortland Henry shows up at Memorial Hospital, Miramar. You don't see him sitting there, but where you will see him sitting is in the driver's seat of a car with two bodies, car riddled with bullets. And when he shows up with a change of clothing, change of shirt, powder residue on his hands, evidencing that he had discharged a firearm. And he lies. He lies about where the incident occurred. He lies about how it occurred. And he lies about not having a phone. I think it was Miss Bradley herself who said, everybody has a phone in his pocket, not Cortland Henry. There were 3 phones.
He also revealed that YNW Bortland ended up lying to the feds when they were asking him what happened to Sack Chaser and Juvie when he finally drove them to the local hospital. And he also mentioned something we never knew, YNW Bortland having a change of clothing, making it pretty obvious he knew something was about to happen. The interview of YNW Bortland lying to the feds would also go on to be shared to the jury.
And I'm driving, ducking for my life, trying to make sure I don't get hit. And you telling me, you telling me about some shit. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit. I'm driving. I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit. You know what I'm saying? What I'm gonna be worried about? You know what I'm saying?
I know it's not for you to worry about.
Shit crazy, bro.
But if you tell me it happened there's got to be some evidence there. There's going to be broken glass, just like there's broken glass over here from when you guys open the doors and stuff like that. Okay, there's going to be broken glass over there when the windows got out. There's going to be casings from the people at your car. Okay, there's going to be evidence over there. Okay, right now there's nothing. I kind of think I know what happened because I got information.
As within moments of this all going down, social media would begin going crazy over the fact that it sounded like Melly's lawyer just snitched on YNW Bortland. This is when the rap lawyer would share this about this topic of conversation.
And we have an absolute shell being dropped by the defense, a mic drop moment. The lead attorney on Melly's defense team telling the jury that Cortland Henry lied to police when he showed up at Memorial Hospital that morning. He lied about what happened. He lied about not having a phone on him. That Cortland Henry, this is according to Melly's attorney, that Cortland Henry showed up at that hospital with a change of clothes on, and that Cortland Henry showed up at that hospital with powder residue on his hands.
As this wouldn't be the only time YNW Bortland's name would come up during trial, as we would see another report of forensic scientists that covered the passings in the YNW Melly trial says co-defendant YNW Bortland tested positive for firearm residue.
So the right hand of Cortland Henry contained 0 particles characteristic of hot residue and two-component particles, and the left hand contained 1 particle characteristic of hot residue and 1 two-component particle.
Okay. And can you explain to us what that means?
Basically, overall, there was hot residue present on the hands.
making many realize this trial is now starting to transition weirdly into YNW Bortland being the guilty one instead of Melly. It is important to note YNW Bortland will be going to trial for this as well, but this is at a later date. With it being obvious this is how the trial is now transitioning, YNW Juvy's father would speak up as he didn't want the attention being drawn off of YNW Melly. As we would see in a report of, the father of YNW Juvy explained why he believes YNW Melly is the one responsible for this crime.
From the day one, I believe that Melly was responsible for my son on October 26th when I first heard the story, because his explanation when I finally talked to him in Cortland on a FaceTime, their response and how they was reacting, they showed no remorse. They didn't act like they was grieving, like they lost a best friend or nothing. They was, in my opinion, they was in the best spirits. They wasn't reacting to, they act like they didn't have to take a loss at all. That's how I took it. And then when I was talking to them, I still had in the back of my mind that something's not right.
Juvy's father also mentioning an altercation that happened 2 days before their passing between YNW Melly and Sack Chaser, involving Sack Chaser messing with Melly and Melly's gold grills falling out in the process, revealing that YNW Juvy's father could have just shared a motive that no one even knew about. With more and more evidence showing YNW Bortland's involvement, it would now be the prosecution's plan to make the focus back onto YNW Melly, which is when we would meet YNW Melly's ex-girlfriend's mother. A report would go on to state YNW Melly's ex-girlfriend's mother is a prosecution witness, but it looks like she doesn't even want to be there testifying for the state.
I do remember that they kind of me and my daughter to take her to jail for accessory. I do remember that.
Yes. And in terms of the statements that you made about what happened, you don't have any recollection of that. Did you read this statement multiple times?
I looked at it and I just didn't recall it, and I don't know.
And so you indicated you hoped you were truthful with law enforcement?
Yes, I did.
I have to ask you to be more definitive. Were you truthful?
I don't remember what I said to them back then, so if I was to tell you something now, I could be lying. I don't want to lie on the stand because you're going to take me to jail. So I'm saying what you want me to say.
I do not want you to say anything. I want you to tell the truth.
Okay, that's what I'm doing.
For a little bit of context, when the crime ended up happening, YNW Melly FaceTimed his girlfriend at the time, telling her what happened, causing her to start yelling in her bedroom. The girlfriend's mom would overhear it, sprint to her room to figure out what is going on. She then got the entire scoop on what exactly happened. She then sat for a deposition 1 year later, and she basically told the feds everything. However, when the trial started, everything kind of just changed. The ex-girlfriend's mom started saying she doesn't remember anything. It was then revealed that the feds have been treating her very poorly for the last few months, making her wear a GPS tracking device around her ankle even for when she goes to her place of employment, making her look like a criminal to all of her co-workers. However, in the end, this is a major win for YNW Melly, with her not speaking a word. As the next win would then follow, where we would see a report of YNW Melly's reaction when a firearm expert tells the judge he didn't bring the item because he has no idea what item was used for this crime, alongside Melly's funny reaction.
Why not?
So the first thing is I didn't have a firearm, so I can't know which firearm I'm going to use in order to replicate any of my tests. So I can't make tests for this determination because I don't know what firearm was used.
Okay. Do you have a...
Around 2 years ago, everything we're understanding today was already told to us by Melly's music manager 100K Track. He mentioned Melly has a lot of great defenses on his side, and it's now finally starting to come to light.
He built a real great solid team away from just being innocent because he wouldn't do such a crime. He prepared himself and got a proper, defense. Their job is to handle themselves in trial, not on social media. You guys are taking it that way. If they say they got DNA in a car, I'm just gonna tell you Melly DNA was found in the car. You're gonna think, yeah, his DNA was found in the car the day of the he jumped in a car and his DNA was in the car, he did it. Okay, but you're not gonna put the fact that this was his car for 6-7 months on those documents and dockets and just automatically be like, yo, he's fried. You don't even know what the defense is. You don't even know what the rebuttal is. You don't even know why that situation occurred. You hear ballistics flying, You don't know what the defense is. You hear this, you hear that. You get what I'm saying?
I'm gonna be honest.
And you can now start to tell the prosecutors need to find something to make YNW Melly look bad in front of the jury. So we saw a report of alleged video of YNW Melly cooperating with cops in the interrogation room surfaces. Alongside this footage,
like I told you, a lot of the stuff we don't need because we have all this evidence already. Now's your time.
Really need to think about what you're going to do. Because now is the time to try to be honest and try to make things right. Okay? If you got in self-defense or something, you need to let us know.
I did.
What happened?
Somebody at the tomato pulled out.
Who?
One of the kids.
Somebody you go to school with?
Yeah.
Same grade?
Yeah.
What's he go by?
I think he goes to the alternative.
Alright, what's his street name?
I know his last name, Gillespie.
as allegedly Melly started crying to be released from the courtroom. But this was from a court case that YNW Melly was involved in all the way back in 2015. A very weird coincidence, this 8-year-old footage comes out to the internet when YNW Melly has the chance of a mistrial. Definitely not strange in the slightest bit.